Good evening, everyone. As many of you know, a catastrophic explosion devastated the capital of Lebanon, Beirut. The impact of the blast was so horrendous that people hours away from Beirut heard and felt the effects of the detonation. Witnesses and experts have said that the explosion was so horrific that they have compared it to Hiroshima, stating that it is the third worst explosion in the history of the world. The cause of it is unknown and is currently being investigated. However, there are many rumors and conspiracy theories buzzing around. One is that an attack triggered the explosion. Another is that there was an improper storage of 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate that politicians knew about for 6 years but did nothing about. I will not state my personal beliefs on this matter. However, the worst of the news is that there are currently 300,000 people and counting homeless, 5,000 people and counting injured, 500 people and counting missing, and 135 people counting dead. People are currently stuck underneath rubble. They are screaming over the bodies of their loved ones. They are wailing over their lost children and relatives that they cannot find, amongst so many other horrific scenarios. Upon receiving the news, many of us were in shock and disbelief, refusing to accept the fact that Lebanon, as many people have said, is gone, done, dead. Others have erupted into non-stop tears, their long fears of a tragedy occurring after a long, increasing period of misfortunes in Lebanon coming true, and are now mourning the loss of innocent lives and the possible death of a nation. Why the death of a nation? Prior to the explosion in Beirut, Lebanese people were already struggling with a variety of issues, such as a recent influx of coronavirus, a disastrous broken economy, political corruption, a lack of government transparency, price hikes, lack of jobs, poor electricity with daily electric outages, to the extent of where right now doctors and surgeons are using their lights on their phones to conduct and operate on victims of the explosion right now. Garbage piled up in the streets, sporadic water cuts and poor water quality, environmental degradation, scarce medical supplies, unreasonably high food prices that people can no longer afford, half of the country living below the poverty line, which has led to additional issues, such as a 20% increase of burglaries and a 103 increase of murders. 103 increase percentage, Rampant illnesses in both adults and children, such as cancers, subsequent deaths of people dropping dead in the streets. Because of these factors, many people believe that this explosion was the final tipping point for Lebanon, and that we can now no longer return from such a critical point because we do not have the proper funds or correct leadership that will allow us to rebuild ourselves and transcend these devastating impediments. For these reasons, I believe that we absolutely have the right to mourn. We have the right to mourn the loss of innocent lives. We have the right to mourn the tragic circumstances of our country. We have the right to mourn the fact that our dream of a flourishing Lebanon now seems out of reach. We have the right to mourn the fact that our parents and our dream of returning to and living in our homeland and reuniting with our family and friends is potentially gone. We have the right to mourn the truth that we are now in our parents' position of wishing with uncertainty for the day that Lebanon will be okay, or okay in our definition. We have the right to mourn in how we will empathize with our parents when they wonder whether us or our loved ones will live to see another day over there. We have the right to mourn in how Lebanon has almost never had a period of peace, whether it be the civil war, a looming threat of war, another war occurring, struggling to rise again after some kind of travesty that has occurred. Lebanon has never had a successive period of relaxing calm and happiness. And we have the right to mourn the fact that Lebanon's dire circumstances have not reached widespread and international news until now, when a lot of us feel like it's too late. As humans, and especially as Lebanese people, we are often taught to hold in our emotions, to hold ourselves together, and to be strong rather than to publicly grieve. However, keep in mind what I have just said. We are human. It is completely fine to lament what has happened, especially since it feels as if we have dealt with far much more than our shoulders can bear any longer. Because the truth is that the Lebanese people cannot take any more of this. We are strong, but there is a moral an immortal limit to our strength. It is okay not to be okay. It is okay to be hurt. It is okay to let our tears flow freely, because we have to allow grief to run through our system before we can even begin to assess our next steps. Rather than allowing our sorrow and grief and rage to be our nation's tombstone, we should allow these emotions to be the guiding stone of our behavior and actions. Some of you may already begin to shake your heads and say that I'm naive, that such a suggestion is impossible right now, especially since we can't even begin to imagine the number of obstacles we have ahead of us. And we're just miraculously hoping to breathe through all of this. And that's okay. You have every right to feel like that, because all we can do right now is take everything step by step. But in order to survive, we need to do something, starting with getting rid of the corrupt politicians running our country. Our leaders are supposed to be guiding us and protecting us, and yet they are the reason for Lebanon's slow death. Both the explosion and the above issues I have described that Lebanon is going through is because of their selfishness, greed, negligence, and evil. We would have never reached this critical point of terror and death if it weren't for them. One example of such carelessness is Lebanon's president lacking the common decency and courtesy and respect to issue an immediate statement regarding the explosion that has impacted millions of Lebanese around the world. He took almost an entire day to issue a statement where other countries immediately issued one. Even Donald Trump issued one. That is one mere example that illustrates how Lebanon is run by unfit individuals that place their best interests before that of the Lebanese people's hearts. These Lebanese politicians are grasping us by our throats and killing us, and it is because of them that so many people have died. And it is this point, the point of us needing justice, that should remind us and fuel us into fighting to change Lebanon for the better good. Furthermore, fighting for Lebanon does not only include getting rid of the corrupt government, it also includes raising awareness, raising donations, raising funds, and utilizing our critical thinking skills to spark and establish new ideas that will help Lebanon. I know many of us feel really helpless right now, especially being so far away from our home, but however, we can truly help Lebanon right now by utilizing the widespread international coverage currently shining down on us. We usually never get this, but now we have it. Prior to the explosion, for example, it seems as if none of the other countries cared about us. No one ever showed any news about us, despite us going through all of those issues that I've just described. It felt like we were not good enough for other people to lament. However, that has changed right now, and we can use that newslight as a vehicle for change for whatever it is that you will believe will help Lebanon, whether it's pleading for an international intervention or quantifiable aid and funds rather than having buildings light up in solidarity with us. We can do it. We can use this to our advantage. We can do it. Some people have stated that now Lebanon will never embrace and achieve the dreams that we have all wanted it to claim for so long. That our dreams of a flourishing, peaceful, and beautiful Lebanon are now at the very far end of the tunnel. Maybe it is true, but what if it's not? What if we still have a chance at turning things around and we just don't know it? What if we still have a chance to give Lebanon a fair chance? Imagine if that change leads to Lebanon eventually having a flourishing economy, just political leaders, security, affordability, jobs, electricity, cleanliness, clean water, and a clean environment, an abundance of medical supplies and food, a low poverty rate, healthy people, a lot of things other countries already have. Imagine if we can live there again and be happy with our families. What if working towards that chance is there? Would it still not be worth it? Call me naive, but miracles have often happened in history. So what if this is our chance at a miracle for Lebanon? What if this is our chance at life and redemption? May God bless Lebanon and give the Lebanese people strength to transcend these unbearable times, and we will get through this, God willing. Thank you. Please take care and stay safe. Good night.